All right, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton, and I want to thank you all for tuning in today. Lions Talk Live, the day after day 2 of the draft, and I'm sure, like most people watching this, just a lot of questions, a lot of things out there. What do we do? Hey, I get probably most fans were caught way off guard by the fact that we went with not just one cornerback, but two cornerbacks in back-to-back picks. I'm going to say this. I personally loved it. If you watch the video I put out yesterday afterwards, I think this is a sign of things to come. And as you can tell from the thumbnail here within, hey, man, I think the Detroit Lions are setting up something. And I think they're showing their hand a ton as far as what they're going to do on defense. There's going to be questions about, the pass rush, what we're going to do, what we're coming after, all these type of things. But I'm saying this. I think they've got a plan, and I think they're also showing a ton of faith in Arron Glenn. Now, a couple things I got to get to today before we get into the show. Some of it you already know. One thing I am going to address, there was contacted during the middle of the night, probably about 4 o'clock, from a longtime Lions Talk Live YouTuber, part of the Do Crew persons. Unfortunately, their house burnt down in a fire. So if anybody out there watching this, either live or later on, wants to make any kind of donation to try to help their family out, please go ahead and do so. All the funds generated in the next 72 hours from the channel, either from Google, YouTube / or donations, will go to them to help them out. So thoughts and prayers. Glad everybody's okay, but yeah, it would appear they lost just about everything. So also, if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. We're making that push to get to 66,000 subs. We're about 90 away. So if you haven't yet subscribed, please consider doing so. Also, if you enjoyed the video and all the stuff we do here on Lions Talk Live, pretty pleased with Mountain Dew on top. Consider hitting the thumbs up button. It helps the channel out a lot. As you guys know, it pushes out to more and more content. So, hey, doing what I can to try to help other people maybe interested in Detroit Lions find the channel. Last but never least, just because I do enjoy work and I do enjoy doing stuff, if you've ever considered buying or selling property anywhere in the state of Michigan, give me a call or shoot me a text, 269-998-2384. Let me use over 30 years of work within the industry to your behest, try to save you some money, maybe some stress or pressure, whatever you want to say. Try to do everything I can to make the process of buying a property as easy as it can be. It can be the Upper Peninsula, Lower Peninsula, Detroit, Bay City, St. Joe, Grand Rapids, anywhere in between. Give me a call, shoot me a text, and let's see what I can do to help you out. All right, welcome to Lions Talk Live. Let's get talking about all the jibber jabber. Let's get talking about the no-fly zone. Let's get talking about what we might be doing on defense with this team, because I think we all went into the draft saying Detroit Lions secondary is much better than it was just months ago in the playoffs. At least on paper, it appears to be. And now when adding Terrell Arnold and now Ernest Rakestraw, I mean, you have to believe it's going to be a whole lot better. One thing I want to point out with Rakestraw too is when he ran his 40 and went through all the combine, he's doing so with it seems like a severely pulled groin muscle. So the fact that he ran a 4.5 with that makes me think he's probably somewhere closer to 4.4, maybe 4.3, somewhere in that range when he's fully healthy. You look at some of his other test results at the combine, and you know what? I think his grades, and teams got this. I get teams understood he was doing all these injured, but you look at his broad jump, you look at his 10-yard splits, 40-yard dash, you get the idea. His athletic scores are going to be much, much higher than what you got at the combine because of the injury. A couple other things before I forget. At 7:15, the Sarge himself, Tony Libretto, is going to jump on air, break down the first 2 days of the NFL draft with us. Also, tomorrow night, we'll still do the morning show tomorrow, but tomorrow night at 7 p.m., most of you know Mark Orm from Orm's Forums. He's going to hop on, and we're going to do a post-draft breakdown. So if you're sitting around on Sunday night, don't have a whole lot going on, want to come on in, hey, feel free to do just that. All right, let's go ahead and talk and see what the Duke crew has to say. JDC, good morning, all. Good morning to you, too. JDC, woo! Woo, 100%. Bo, good morning, Duke Crew, Superdome or bust, exclamation point. Air traffic control crew is ensuring the no-fly zone for years to come. I'm down with that. And yes, I concur. Robert G, good morning, Dan and Duke Crew, exclamation points. Stephanie, good morning, boys, exclamation point. Really interested to see what we draft today. That's going to be one of the big questions out there. We do have a number of picks today. I get yesterday was very limited, but today not so much. So could it be the Lions have went into this draft, went into this process and said, hey, we're going to go for a couple of very targeted players, which they did get. They probably did not anticipate either one of these gentlemen falling down to them, but it happened. So in my opinion, I know I talked about this. The Lions went out and got, in my opinion, Arnold, who's, I'd say on my board, he was the 10th best football player in the entire draft, and they got him at 24. And now Rakestraw, I had to go back and check. I had him as the 41 or 41st best player in the entire draft. That's from my charts, my grades, and only mine alone, nobody else's. And hey, the fact that you got him where you got him at 61, I mean, that's pretty good value. So again, I think they're sticking to the charts, just saying best player available. So yeah, I think they're doing well there. All right. Sorry, I lost my spot on the charts. There we go. Thomas, greetings, salutations, Duke Crew. Same to you, Thomas. Hopefully I have a great one. Thomas, I guess we are going to find out if Brad really is a cornerback snob. Could be potentially have the best secondary in our division, question mark. I think in time, I mean, we've talked about it. The Lions have just a ton of guys on one-year contract deals this year. Now, you look at the secondary, kind of the same thing. Carlton Davis III, hey, I get it. He's probably going to be a significant upgrade for us, but he is on a one-year deal right now. You look at Emmanuel Mosley, same thing, kind of a prove-it one-year deal. So you can go through the entire secondary and see that there is a bit of a need for long-term results with these drafted players that we got so far this weekend. Where they go from here, how long some of these guys take to develop, all remains to be seen. Matthew, greetings and salutations. Good morning, everyone. Super Bowl or bust, exclamation point. Woo! 100% Matthew, and good morning. Ed, what do you got? Good morning, Coach and Duke Crew. Should be interesting now that what we do from here. Exactly. All right, Smoke You Some. Good morning, Duke Crew and Dan. Woo! 100%. And good morning to you, Smoke. All right, Matthew, time to pick up some international players with these late picks. Is that possible? 1,000%. It'll be, like I said, it'll be interesting to see what they do here. Where I think they're getting safer here is a lot of the guys that are, in my anticipation, that are going to be drafted today potentially could land on the practice squad. And, if they really just go after guys that need a lot of work, a lot of time to develop, then perhaps they're less enticing to other teams. All right, Ed, we have our cornerbacks. Yes, I would agree. I think we've got our cornerbacks of the future. Ed, hello, what's up, everyone? Hey, just getting the morning going, right, with the Duke Crew. Clark, hey, Coach, I want to say thank you. I was pretty upset after our pick last night. Then I watched your video and felt much better. Well, thanks for that, man. Just the way I saw it, the way I looked at these two pickups, these two additions to the team so far via the draft, and I could be way wrong with what we're going to do with them. But from what I'm thinking we're going to do with them, yeah, I think it's going to be basically Blitzburg all season long. We're coming after people, and you better be able to complete passes under duress and in tight windows, probably on the run consistently, or we're getting that ball. All right, Gary, what do you got? Good morning, Duke Crew. Ed and I would like a kicker, fifth round pick. Make it happen, Coach. I'm on it. I'm going to make some phone calls for you. Thank you. Have fun fishing today, Ed. Yes, Ed, hopefully it's a great day for you out there fishing. Ed O'Neill, Thomas Taylor history says corner is the hardest position in the defense to transition to. So if these two guys are any good, you won't know until year two at the earliest. Yeah, I would agree with you on that, Ed. I think cornerback, maybe up there with quarterback. It just takes a lot of time, a lot of work for those players to really get their feet wet and set in the NFL. The good part is with both of these guys, you probably don't ultimately need them to really come in right away and make huge impacts. Now, if they do, they do. That's great. Hey, kudos to us then. But I think you're going to be able to nurture them along, at least for year one, and get them ready for next year. All right, Ed, great salutations, crew, exclamation points. find the next St. Brown or Houston today. That's our goal, 100%. Yeah, you go into the late rounds of the draft, you have to find what other people have missed. This is where your scouting department, if they're worth their salt, which I think most Lions fans would say they are, this is where they earn their big paychecks. It's easier to evaluate players that everybody has tons of information on. Now, when you're talking about guys that kind of slip through the cracks, you've got to find what everybody else is missing. And if you can do that, you're going to build yourself a huge reputation. Ed, I will laugh my butt off if Rakestraw ends up being better than Arnold. All right. First 4 picks going to cornerbacks is unacceptable. Fair enough. We'll see how many they throw it that way. Gary, wow, our defense is going to be fun to watch. I agree. I think they're going to be real fun to watch. Ed, out of the top 5 cornerbacks, Detroit and Philadelphia got 2 each. Interesting. So are they telling you something with that? The NFC is a highly passing side of the league. And you know what? You've got to be able to at least somewhat shut that down. Ed, another year of Hutch and no help. Let's ride. We'll have to see. I gave my thoughts on it last night. I think we're trying to go, and maybe I'm wrong. I think we're trying to go away from just, hey, our front 4 are going to rush the quarterback, and you've got to pick us apart. I think we're saying, we're sending 5 or 6 guys after your quarterback, and you're going to have to throw into tight windows. So I think you're going to be blitzing a ton. All right, let's see, Bo. My immediate reaction was hysterically laughing. The Brad Holmes smoke and mirrors show set everyone up for dismay. True villain. Yeah, I would go with that. He's embracing that moment. All right, Ed, DeJohn is a safety who plays cornerback, so Philly really got a safety and a cornerback. This is true. Yeah, he can do a lot of different things. Franz, what do you got? Good evening, all. Man, Holmes has no fear what everyone thinks. And that's what I love about him. Yeah, double down. And he's done that before in the draft where he's doubled down at multiple different positions, and he's continued that trend. He doesn't worry about what I think, what you think, what the media thinks. He's going by his charts, his grades. We all talk about the best player available, and it just happened to be, in his opinion, 2 straight picks were cornerbacks. He spoke about it in the presser afterwards. He did not anticipate in any scenario that both of these gentlemen would have fallen to him. They did. You heard me talk about my grades on them, and I think they got extremely good value there. So, can you really go wrong if you just consistently put better and better football players on your team? I guess that's the question. Just say, Kate, greetings and salutations. Greetings and salutations, everyone. Getting the coffee brewing. We'll get it going, grab a good seat, and enjoy the show. Ed, looks like we'll have to wait another year to finally get Hutch some help. Let's hope and pray no pass rush isn't the death of us once again. Yeah, and I've given my thoughts on it. So I think Houston is, my opinion, going to be the opposite end of Hutchinson. Now, I'm only saying that because I'm believing they're going to put him next to DJ Reader. DJ's probably going to get double teamed a lot of times on 1st and 2nd downs, unless it's 3rd and short. So when that happens, you're probably putting in on short yardage downs. You're probably taking Houston out and putting in more like a Pascal or somebody else. But on normal downs, that's my opinion. All right, Robert, everyone wants edge. James Houston is our edge. Had he not got hurt, he would have had a great year. I agree with that. Think about it. If Aiden got hurt and was out for the year, would you draft a replacement for him? True point. Good point there, Robert. Gary, I heard Brad Holmes demanding a future 2-point conversion in the deal with the Cowboys also. Hey, maybe he did. Maybe this was the Cowboys' way of saying, hey, we know you got jobs. Here's a little something for you to try to make it up. All right, guys, it's about that time. We're going to bring on the Sarge, Tony Libretto here, and break down some of this draft picks. Sarge, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
Hey, we got sound, so we're good.
Yeah, right.
So let's walk through it real quick. Sarge, last night, Rakestraw gets picked. What is your initial reaction?
A little shocked, right? Like everyone else seems to be. But I was like, hey, some people, the pundits had him going to us in the 1st round. So all I thought of was, how are we going to get them all on the field? Because you always expect your 1st and 2nd round guys to start, other than if you're drafting like a quarterback that you want to sit for a couple of years. You really want to get starters out of your first couple of picks. So my thought is maybe they move Branch to safety. I don't know. But because like we talked about, back on Wednesday, the pregame show or the pre-draft show, we talked about, our safeties are good but not great, and I bet Branch at safety is probably better than either one of those. So maybe that's what they're doing, because we still have to fit Davis out there somewhere. You don't trade for a guy in the offseason to be on, your fourth string guy. So I last night's pick was interesting. There's a lot of other players out there that I thought might be a good fit.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I liked the one Bo, I think, said no fly zone. I like that because this maybe if our corners can cover better, then it gives our pass rush a little bit, that split second longer. Because the quarterback's going to have to hold on to the ball a little bit longer instead of, the guys running around wide open like they were last year.
Well, you heard me talk about it. It's just my guess that you're doing a couple of things here. One, I know they've talked about this postseason that they're going to move Branch around a little bit more to the safety position. Mm-hmm. They're going to have him play the slot. Now you look at the cornerback spot. I mean, one could argue the weakness in the defense last year wasn't so much the pass rush, it was the pass coverage. Because I can remember when he played Minnesota both games, where he's like, man, Nick Mullins is throwing for 400 yards against us. Stafford's going to eat us up for 400. And it's true. Everybody did have huge passing totals against us, but we were getting wins because we were forcing repeated hits on the quarterback. We were forcing some turnovers through all that passing. So it's just my anticipation. This is the type of defense Aaron Glenn, and I guess you could say the Detroit Lions prefer playing. The season prior to last, when we made the big run, recovered from the 1-6 start, this is what they switched to, like they did late last year, and it really did pay off for them. It made it tough on other teams. So my guess is, doing just some Scooby-Doo simple math, if you have better players in the secondary, they make more plays in the secondary, which equals more stops, more turnovers, more picks. I mean, even using the 49ers playoff loss, I know I talked about it last night, but the picks were there to be had. Our corners just didn't hold on to the passes. I know Sutton dropped 2 interceptions. Vildor obviously had the infamous one off the face that really went against us, and there might have been other ones. So my anticipation is, if guys hold on to the passes, you probably win those games.
Probably, yeah. It makes a lot of sense, you'd think, right?
Right. So with that in mind, let's talk about it, because I know the Duke crew's been chatting about it in the comment sections. Yeah. If you had to guess right now who your starting front four is on defense for the Lions, assuming that it's not going to be somebody that isn't currently on the team, either via draft or if we still pick somebody else up via trade or whatever it may be, who do you think your starting front four is?
So talking defensive line.
Yeah.
Obviously Hutch. Reeder and Aleem McNeil in the middle there. And, I'm hoping Davenport is healthy and becomes the starter. Obviously, I think that side's going to, with Pascal and Kaminsky, I think they're going to rotate those edge rushers. Like we talked about before, I'd really like to see Hutch get a break every once in a while.
Right.
So I would like to see Davenport, when he first came into the league, he was really good. And, he's just been dealing with a little bit of injuries over the last couple of seasons. So it'd be nice to, have those guys that we brought in the free agency, make a big difference. That's what they're supposed to be. That's why you bring them in. So I would say Davenport on the other side, but who knows, maybe we get a steal today. There's a couple of edge guys still out there, but since we're not going until round 5, I don't know if they'll still be around, someone that could be, the next Houston or something. Those are usually pretty rare, but I'd say that's probably the starting front four right there. Hopefully Martin, like we talked about, gets some more reps too. Right. Maybe actually gets on the playing field.
Well, I know that's one of the tough parts is us fans. We sit around and we go, man, this guy didn't play last year. He must be a bust. And you could say that with Scoresdale. You could say that with maybe Green. You could say that with, obviously, Broderick Martin. We traded up to go get him, but yet he hasn't really played. So the reasoning why, you got to go with whatever the coaches think is best. I think most of us thought that Broderick Martin, while hugely athletic, needed to be developed.
Yeah.
Perhaps he is there now, or they feel like he will be by the time season starts. I mean, that part we don't know.
Yeah.
The fact that they haven't addressed offensive line in one of the first 2 picks as far as future replacements, to me, I'm going to assume that the coaches aren't morons, at least. So I'm going to assume they believe that Yoda, Scoresdale, and whoever else must be ready or capable backups when they're developing. So let's talk about today now. Last day of the draft. Lions have a ton of picks in the last day.
Yeah.
Where do you think they're going to fill out these final, whatever it is, 4 or 5 picks?
Yeah. I see. I'd seen some comments about getting a kicker, so that wouldn't be. I don't know. Last year's crop of kickers seemed to be everyone knew who they were, right? And I don't really know if I've really heard of any kickers this year. So I don't know. Are they worth drafting one? Probably. I don't know. Maybe, probably not. We don't use them enough as it is, I guess. Badgley was always serviceable, right? Like, no, he's not going to make the 50-yard kick, but we rarely kick it from 50 anyway. So I do think they're going to get some fill-in pieces. I'd be surprised if we don't draft a wide receiver at some point, like very surprised, just to, keep building that room for competition's sake, at least. It'd be nice to get an interior offensive lineman, even if it's just to push Sorsdal to get a little better. And I wouldn't be surprised if they, get another defensive lineman, whether it be edge or tackle or whatever. So I think those 3 positions, wide receiver, interior offensive lineman, and a defensive lineman should be, 3 of the 5 picks that we got at least.
One thing I was a little surprised about last night when Marshawn Nealon fell to, I want to say it was about 55, 56. Yeah. I know we were texting and such about him. Were you at all surprised Lions didn't try to trade up? I mean, I get you probably would have to give up some future picks.
Right.
Were you surprised they didn't make a move to try to go get Nealon?
A little bit. Because I know Brad Holmes doesn't, he's not scared of trading up like in the past we always used to be as Lions as the team. But so I was a little surprised because I thought, he'd be a really good fit for us, obviously. And I'm sure a lot of people were like, we need an edge. And when they sat pat and he got drafted, about 5 picks before us or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but we were like, I guess we're not getting him.
Right.
And then we were like, we don't even know who they're going to take at that point. We didn't have a good guess because I think the 2 people we were talking about was Nealon and I don't even remember the other guy we were talking about now, but I was surprised. And then, so we were both, I was like, well, I have no idea to even venture a guess at who we're taking. And obviously when they took Rakestraw, I was like, oh, that wasn't the guy that I thought they were going to take.
Right. And, I don't think anybody anticipated when they walked up to the podium that was going to be the move, but it is the move. It was the move. So give them props, praise, whatever you want to say for Brad Holmes saying, hey, not really worried about what anybody else thinks. This is what we're going to go ahead and do. So, I'll just say strong move for them. But now let's talk about the team, because really at this point, I'm going to go on a limb and guess they've drafted anybody they can who's going to make some immediate impact next year. I mean, maybe we get surprised or whatever.
Right.
Well, Sarge, go ahead and look at this team as far as where they're at now, in your opinion, compare it to the NFC North, and I guess you could just say the NFC, maybe the NFL overall. Where do you think Detroit's still weak? Where do you think they're strong? And who do you think is our biggest rivals, I guess, throughout the league as far as Tampa?
So, as far as the NFC North, the division, everyone else is going to be gunning for us now, right? We're the ones on top, and everyone's doing whatever they can, looking at what our team is doing and trying to counter that or trying to, find like you said, find some weaknesses.
Yep.
I don't think we have a weakness on offense. I mean, we were a top 5 offensive team last year. And even though we haven't necessarily added any pieces of that other than we went out and got the guard Zittner, Zider, whatever his name is.
Right.
And it's early, y'all. Other than that, we didn't really do a whole lot. We brought back some of our own guys like Brock Wright. But that's fine. We don't really need to do anything on the offensive side, other than, like I said, get some more depth at receiver, but depth isn't, the starting lineup, right? So
Right.
defense, it's the edge guy opposite Hutch is probably the most glaring need. It really is. As much as I want Houston go out and get 10 sacks this year, or Pascal to step up in his third year now. He had a limited rookie season, and then last year he was, we were really hoping that he would be the guy, and he had some good flashes and some good games, but he wasn't the guy, I guess. So that's, I think right now that might be the only glaring need we need on defense. We really took care of the defensive back situation, the secondary situation in the offseason from free agency from free agency to the draft already. So you have to, on paper, right? Obviously, you have to think the secondary is way better than it was at the beginning of last year or at the end of last year, even. So the only glaring need, I think, is on the edge. As far as, who are we competing with or how do we stack up? I mean, Philadelphia did some improvements this offseason. So they're going to be tough outside of our division. The 49ers are the reigning Super Bowl people from the NFC, the team from the NFC. So they still look pretty stacked. I don't really recall them losing anybody. They still might, Ayuk might still be gone, but I feel like they're not really all that concerned about him leaving. So, because they're so stacked on offense. So they're still the cream of the division or the conference, because they're the ones that they won it last year, and there's no glaring need for them either. I wouldn't think so. I think Detroit is there's not a lot of teams out there that can match us right now. I mean, in our division, Chicago's made a lot of moves, but they're still on a rookie. Minnesota, they're on a rookie, right? Sam Darnold's probably going to start, and JJ's going to come on eventually. But it's kind of easy to say right now, Goff is the best quarterback in the division. Like I said, we talked about it before. Jordan Love, yeah, he had a great year, but now everyone's got tape on him, and they're gonna find out all of his flaws, because I think he's got a few. And other than that, there's a lot of teams in the NFC, I feel like, that are in transition type mode too, where none of the teams in the South are really all that. They don't impress me, especially when Atlanta drafts a quarterback after giving another quarterback $100 million.
What'd you think of that?
Huh?
What'd you think of that when they drafted him?
I thought that was the silliest. I don't even know. I can't even. I don't know what their thought was, because Kirk Cousins is on a 4-year deal and guaranteed $100 million of 160, right? So, and it would be understandable if they took like a Drake May or a JJ McCarthy that are like 21 years old, but Penix is already like 25. I don't know, maybe even 26. I don't even remember. And you got to imagine he's going to at least sit for 2 years. So you just use a first round pick on a guy that isn't going to play till he's 27, maybe. And with Atlanta going all in on Kirk Cousins, you have to imagine that means they want to win now, not wait 2 years until this guy comes around. So then, yeah, I don't know. By the time the dude's done off his rookie deal, he'll be 30 years old.
And it's kind of what caught me off guard with it is, I mean, when you look at Cousins' contract, how much of it's guaranteed, the length of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, let's just Scooby-Doo this and say, all right, you keep Kirk Cousins for 3 of the years, or maybe all 4. Yeah. That means, Penix is only getting 1 or 2 years of that rookie contract. Yeah. So is there really a huge savings to drafting him?
No.
I just think, man, if you're going to address quarterback, if it was me, maybe I'd do it in another year or two or a late round pick. But that's just what I would have done.
Yeah.
All right. So
other than that, yeah, I'm sure Dallas will be good again, but they just can't seem to, they just can't seem to win in the playoffs. So I'm not really thinking that they're the trouble. I think Philly's going to bounce back from their collapse last year. So they'll still be tough. And obviously San Francisco, the Rams, they could be, I don't know when Stafford's going to start getting old, but I hope he does I hope he does soon. So there's a couple of teams out west that are going to be tough, but I think that's about it. I think Lions are, 1 or 2 in the conference right now.
And the crazy part is that there's rumors or speculation going around that Matt Stafford wants a contract restructure. I'm guessing, shorter terms, more guaranteed money.
Yeah.
But he's also, I get it. He's played in the league for a significantly long time now. He's probably closer to the end of his career than he is the beginning. But who knows? I mean, he's going to go out there. He's still going to sling it around. He's still a gunslinger. He's going to be dangerous. Jordan Love, I agree with your take. People are going to have more film on him. So let's see how he responds the second season. If he, continues to trend up, then Green Bay's got a real good, promising young quarterback there. If he gets exposed, some more weaknesses are found and he can't maintain, then I guess we'll see where that puts the Packers. To me, Chicago is probably the biggest wild card. If they, as far as the NFC North, if they can address somehow that offensive line, which was not great last year, nor has it been great for a few years, then maybe Caleb Williams or whoever can have some real success, because they do have a lot of weapons and they have a pretty stout defense. I could see them being a problem if they can figure that out. If they can't, then I worry about Williams as far as the amount of punishment he's going to take this year. Because if they put too much on his plate, like a lot of teams do with high value, high draft pick rookie quarterbacks, you can do a lot of damage to them, just like you can try to help them. So, all right. So let's now talk about the AFC. You look at the Lions, who they'd match up with potentially in the NFC and let alone the NFC North. Who do you think, when you're all done with things, who's been the most improved team in the, let's just say, the whole NFL this offseason?
Well, I think the Chiefs, they got their receiver. They got their Tyreek Hill clone in Xavier Worthy.
Yep.
So and they're the ratings 2-time champions, right? I don't know when the last time there was a 3-time. I don't think ever. I know Pittsburgh won 4 in 5 years in the 70s, and obviously New England's been in and out of the Super Bowls a lot, but I don't think any of them have I don't know if there's ever been a 3-time winner in a row. So it's unlikely that they get there, but we never had a Patrick Mahomes in the NFL before either. So I think they improved just by getting that one guy and solidifying their defense, with signing Jones, that long-term deal, that big fat contract. Baltimore is always tough. Buffalo, I think, took I don't know what they're doing. So I think Buffalo is probably going to take a step back this year, to be honest. The Jets once again have loaded up a lot of talent for Aaron Rodgers, but it's going to be brutal getting out of the AFC. So I'm not sure. I don't know. As far as, you might even look at Pittsburgh. How funny would that be if Russell Wilson gets out of Denver and then leads Pittsburgh, to a couple of wins in the playoffs,
right?
Because it seemed like they had everything last year except the quarterback, right? Like they still made the playoffs. So I'll tell you, I think the Chiefs are still the toast of the town on that side.
Right.
And I think Baltimore and Pittsburgh are going to be tough, but they have to play each other twice. You look at Miami, how phenomenal they were, but they got crushed in the playoffs too. So I'll go with those three. I think Kansas City, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh, I think they're going to turn a lot of heads this year.
So let's talk real quick about Aaron Glenn, because I get he's been under a lot of fire for a while. People have come after him, giving him a lot of flack because the defense hasn't performed great for most of his time here in Detroit. But now he's got two more guys in the secondary on top of everybody else they've already gotten this offseason. What do you think, Sarge? What does this mean for the Lions to invest that much into basically what would appear to be the secondary, let alone what Aaron Glenn prefers to do schematically wise? Do you think this means the Lions, while Lions fans are iffy on Glenn, the Lions are all in on Aaron Glenn? Give me your take.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think Aaron Glenn, regardless of what we think of him, the locker room loves that dude, and that's something that you can't just, you can't bring in somebody else and go, okay, this is the guy. If he doesn't mesh with the locker room, the players aren't gonna buy into that system or whatever.
Right.
Aaron Glenn, getting these corners, if these corners are, and all the other guys that we got in the secondary in the offseason, if they mesh well together and they do what Aaron Glenn wants, that means, like we've talked about before, there's going to be a lot more man and there's going to be a lot more pass rush, because we don't have to use those linebackers to drop into coverage every time. We don't need to have, just the front four rushing and everyone else drop into coverage because no one can cover anybody. So, and that's a lot of ifs. I get it, but that's what the whole draft is about, is if this is the guy that we pick and he's good. So I definitely think we're going to play a lot more man, and, send, like we were talking earlier, send 5 or 6 guys every time on passing downs, obviously.
So I will say this. I think when we look back, and I know we talked about at the start of the show, you look back at what Detroit can do defensively and what they can't do, what you're seeing across the league more and more. I think it's become an arms race. I don't think it's by circumstance or just random chance, I should say, that the first, 13 and 14 picks in the NFL draft were all on offense.
Mm-hmm.
Teams are clearly identifying that this is where you can make yourself incredibly a pain to deal with for the other team, because all the rules favor more and more. Every year there's some new rule that comes out and says, hey, we're leaning more and more towards offense. So teams are trying to spread the field. It's almost like the Canadian Football League in a certain degree, that it's pretty dang hard to guard everybody because the field's so much wider, etc. Now you look at the rules adjustments to the NFL, and I think teams are saying, hey, even if we got to reach a little bit for a player, I'd rather have this on the field along with 40 other guys who can do this or that, because there's just not enough good defenders anymore, plus the rules, to really do something about it. So I think, I think what Aaron Glenn, Detroit Lions are doing makes a lot of sense. We know we can't stop you 80% of the time in the NFL with, just letting you dink and dunk. You're going to go down the field and there's just not much we can do about it. But if we let you, we take away half of your options, you're not going to be able to run up the middle. You're not going to be able to throw over the middle. Everything's got to be outside towards the sideline, where we have a 12th and 13th defender with the sidelines. You know what? We hit you a couple times. Maybe we get a tip pass. Maybe we get you to throw off your back foot, and that ball's up in the air just a little bit longer. Now we get turnovers. You're still going to score some points, but we're going to take the ball away from you a few times per game. You know what we're going to do with that? We're going to give this high-powered Detroit Lions offense even more opportunities to score. I really think this year's offense has the potential to score 30, 35, maybe more a game, because I think the defense, which last year, over the last 2 months, when we basically went to this formula, was only giving up like 20 points a game. And I shouldn't say only 20, but from where they were, that was a pretty, like a 10-point improvement. And now if you can hold on to a few more of those passes, bust up a few more passes, even if you don't get picks, maybe we shut people down to, 16, 17 points a game, and obviously give more opportunities to the offense. But Sarge, all right, we're going into basically, just developmental territory, unless we really get lucky today. Do you think there's any spots if you're not Aaron Glenn, if you're Brad Holmes, you're Dan Campbell, whoever else, you're saying we absolutely need to think to the future with this franchise. We've got some good guys now. Who are going to be the guys that they target today in the late rounds and say, hey, this is the guy we need to get on the roster today, positional wise, to develop for replacing somebody next year?
You know, looking at it like that, you might think linebacker. You know, I don't know how many years is left on Anzalone's deal, but he'll be getting up there in age by the time his deal is over. And you know, Derek Barnes, he's only got 1 year left on his contract as well, I believe.
Right.
This should be his 4th year, right? So, you know, you're looking at maybe, you know, potentially losing 2 linebackers after this year. So that could be, you know, if you're looking at going to what do we do for the future? And again, with the, you know, the interior offensive line, you know, we've got our starting guards are on 1 year deals. So,
right.
You know, that, you know, we talked about maybe getting one of them in the first round this year, even. So I definitely think interior line is going to be, and you know, there's a lot of chatter out there all the time about how much longer does Ragnow have before he's just done dealing with his you know, his injuries, his toe, you know, all those injuries. So I definitely think they need to focus on offensive line, or, you know, interior offensive line. And if you're looking for the future, maybe throwing in a linebacker as well.
Right. Now I get everybody's talked about kicker. You know, the question is, do they go for the Michigan Panthers guy, Jake Bates or whatever? If not, I think they're probably going for the Stanford kid. I don't remember his name offhand, but he does have a pretty big leg. He seems to be pretty accurate. I don't believe anybody's taken him yet, but to be honest, once the Lions picked last night, I went live and I didn't pay attention to the draft the rest of the night. So somebody took him in the second or third. I'm not aware of it, but I don't know, Sarge. I think the Lions, they're just deep across the board. They seem to have just about a little bit of everything. They're pretty dang good at some spots. I don't know if I'd call them great or over the top great, other than maybe running back. But man, oh man, it does seem like this is the deepest team potentially in your and my lifetime. Is there another time period where you could look at a Lions team and say that team measures up to this year's team as far as depth?
I don't think so. Like,
No pressure.
I'm like, I mean, we had some pretty good teams in the 90s, you know, our defense was always strong with, you know, Porsche on one side and, you know, Spielman and Benny Blades, one of my favorite guys, you know, so, but the depth behind them, I don't remember really much, you know, so, yeah, I think this is the strongest team the Lions have ever had in our lifetime. Obviously, like I didn't watch the teams from the 50s, so I couldn't, you know, I can just guess on because they had some good players, but yeah, I think this is it. I think this is it's weird because being lifelong fans that we've been.
Right.
You know, we're always ready for the letdown. You know, we always have high hopes coming into a season, but then we know it's never going to go right. And now, not only do we have high hopes, but we have expectations. We expect to go to the Super Bowl this year. That's just how it. And when's the last time you could say that we expect to be in the Super Bowl? You know, it used to be, man, I hope we make the playoffs this year, if anything, or right. I hope we're not the worst team in the league.
Can we finish 8-8 this year? Come on, baby.
Yeah,
8-8, baby.
Right. 9-7 was always a win for us.
So real quick here, just because I just saw this. Yeah, I don't know if I'm supposed to give out the person's name, but you guys have seen him in the chat for a long time. So I guess I'm not sure what to do here, but Trey, and I don't know if I'm supposed to give out his last name or not, but I'll just go with Trey. You guys have seen him in here. I know he usually pops in, you know, during the live, and then sometimes on weekends. It seems like post live or whatever. I don't know, but yeah, somewhere in the middle of the night, I got a text about it. So, you know, if you guys want to do something to help out, go ahead. Like I said, for the next, you know, couple days, anything that I generate from the channel, I'll send over to him and his family. But you know, that I don't know if I'm supposed to give out personal information or not. I leave that to each of you guys. It's one thing when somebody does a fundraiser or whatever, like I know Bergs did. I don't mind putting, if they send me the link to that fundraiser, I don't mind putting that up there because it obviously helps that person out. But I'm also not giving out Berg's, personal information, his phone number or, actual name or whatever. So, yeah, if you guys want to help out, great, go ahead. I'm not really sure what else to do. Sorry, guys. I'm doing what I can, but I don't really have a ton of experience in trying to help somebody out with a house fire. All right. So, all right, we'll go ahead and do a couple more here then, Sarge. So when you go from here in the NFL draft, we're done with things. The Lions do have some salary cap left. Do you think they make a move to try to go get to maybe if we're talking about just edge rushers, maybe the Bengals guy, and I don't remember his name offhand, but the guy who wants to trade or whatever.
Hendrickson.
That guy. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, so the Bengals front office has said they're not trading him. They said that about him and Higgins, but that's always a smokescreen, right? Like if a right deal shows up. But I haven't been watching. I don't know who the Bengals drafted either. But if they didn't draft a replacement for him, it's probably looking like he's not going anywhere. But I'd say so after the draft is over, then you're talking about either swapping players or swapping future picks. And so I don't know if it would be worth it. Obviously he'd be better than what we have, but is he that much better that we, give away like a second round pick for next year or a third round pick for next year? I know Holmes isn't scared of trading away future draft picks, but you have to start thinking about, how much of an impact he has on the future. What, I have said before, they're all in this year, so trading away the future for something like that, maybe not. Maybe that's not a bad idea. It'd be nice to see them. It seems like they always go out and get somebody after the draft. So we'll have to see how that turns out. But I wouldn't mind getting Hendrickson at all. I mean, who would? Who wouldn't? But I also think that they have to be careful of. I know they have salary cap money, right? But there's still players out there that they need to think about signing long-term deals in the future. And who knows about what's the Goff situation, so, he might be going, hey, how come everyone else is getting contracts?
Right.
So, we got to keep that. Maybe if they restructure his deal, they can come in higher on one of those guys, one of those edge players that, teams might be looking to unload. Once the draft is over, another team might be going, oh, I have this overpriced guy on the edge that I just replaced. I already drafted his replacement, so we'll offer him up to whoever. So, and maybe we can go out there and, maybe overspend on an edge rusher, but if it's worth getting us to the Super Bowl, then who cares, right?
Right. All right, so Sarge, we're going to probably wrap it up here. I've got to get out and do some work today, some actual real work. So I got to get some stuff done and got to hit the road a little early today. For those of you who maybe didn't join at the start of the show, just so you guys know, tomorrow morning we'll do the normal Lions Talk Live, and then tomorrow evening we're going to do a draft day special wrap-up with Mark Orm from Orm's Forums. I think most of you guys probably know who he is. If not, go check out his YouTube channel. But they'll be from 7 to, we'll say, roughly 8 p.m. So feel free to tune on in or watch it or however you want, live or delayed broadcast, whatever, replay, whatever you want to call it. So, Sarge, you got any closing thoughts on the draft on the team before we wrap up this episode?
No, I think everything, like I said, I think I hope he pulls out a couple of surprises today. Who knows? Maybe we do draft a kicker in the 5th round, and that'll calm everybody down.
Right.
About the kicker situation. I hope it don't happen though. I don't want him to draft kicker at all. But a lot of people seem to think that we need one, which I don't think so. But other than that, I enjoy the draft today and enjoy the next couple of weeks of, speculation on, who's going to, win their position battles. Cause I'm telling you, the defensive back room the guys that are there are going, what the hell just happened?
Right. And I
So
mean, I'll say this, just to make this roster, you're going to have to truly compete to be a Detroit Lion in the secondary. And
yep.
I know I talked about it a little bit yesterday. I really think it's possible our defense, as far as the back half of the defense, really is going to go positionless. So I don't really think there's going to be a cornerback room or a safety room. I think it's just going to be you playing the secondary, because you look at Iffy, you look at Branch, you look at Rakestraw, you look at Carlton Davis the third, man, even Terrell Arnold. They've all played safety / corner, so I think they could potentially be. They're all just going to be out there, and our job is secondary. It's not, like I said, a safety or / cornerback. So, all right, guys, like I said, got to get out a little early today for some real life work. So if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. We're making that push to get to 6,600 subs, about 90 away. If you enjoyed the video, the content, either in this video or other ones, please consider hitting that thumbs up button. We got about 500 people watching live. So if everybody hit that was watching, man, we'd be done for the day. Also, if you are interested in making any kind of donations for Trey Tipton and his family, go ahead, send them on over. For the next 72 hours, anything I either make off these videos or that's donated over, I'll send over to his family, try to help him out. Obviously not an ideal morning for them. Otherwise, take care, enjoy your day. If there's some breaking news, I'll get it to you whenever possible. And we'll see you all in the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody.